You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? Glad you can join me on another podcast of All Things Sports with Mike Davis. I thank you for including my podcast into your day. If you're listening on Spotify, please go ahead and follow the podcast. If you're on the YouTube side of things, subscribe, comment, like, all that good stuff. Be sure to go to any of the social media links that you see in the description box to get in contact with the show for comments or suggestions. I won't take up much more of your time. Let's get into it. All right. So last night, the first round of the NFL draft happened, and I must say that I'm a little disappointed in my Falcons. You know, everyone is saying that, yeah, we got what we needed in a tight end. You know, we got the kid out of the University of Florida. And I think that the Falcons, I'm speaking specifically about my team right now, and I just think my Falcons needed to get Matt Ryan's replacement. And I thought his replacement would be Justin Fields. Outside of Michael Vick, we've never really had a mobile quarterback here in Atlanta. And the mobile quarterback has really just become a thing probably around when Vic came out. And I know you had mobile quarterbacks before that. You had your Steve Youngs, you had your Randall Cunninghams, but they were the exception to the quarterback rule. You know, now a lot of teams, you have a lot of mobile quarterbacks now that are playing professional in the NFL. And I just think that to play quarterback in today's game, you need a guy that can get outside the pocket and he can run. He can get some tough yards when things aren't going right on the offense. And I just think we let an opportunity slip by letting Justin Fields fall down into Chicago's lap. I believe Chicago traded up to draft him. But I just think we really needed to draft Matt Ryan's replacement while you had some good quarterbacks coming out in this year's NFL draft. I don't know who Matt Ryan's backup is going to be, but in the NFL, you can never be prepared enough. You know, you never know what's going to happen. And look, if we drafted Justin Fields, I'm not saying that Justin Fields should have started this upcoming season and we just cut bait with Matt Ryan. Not what I was saying at all. What I'm saying is go ahead and get Matt Ryan's replacement in here. Justin Fields could have learned the system sitting behind him. And when it's time to move on from Matt Ryan, then we do so accordingly. I mean, look, it's worked out for Green Bay. You know, they drafted Aaron Rodgers while they had Brett Favre. You have the San Francisco 49ers. They trade for Steve Young while they have Joe Montana playing. And those guys just sat. And I just think that for my Falcons, we missed on a big opportunity to draft a quarterback of the future. That's all I'm saying. So how did your team do in the draft? I didn't think my team did all that great. I mean, you know, look, who knows? Look, the Falcons offense has never really had problems. The problems for us has not been on the offensive side of the football. It's been injuries and the defense. So I'm not sure where they're going, but it is what it is, I guess. There's nothing I can do about it. All right, so let's get into the real reason why we are here. We are here to talk about one Alex Smith. Where do you rank his career? Now, I'm sure that you have heard by now that he's called it quits. Now, Alex Smith was a 3-time Pro Bowl quarterback. He was named the 2020 Comeback Player of the Year. And if you recall, he scared everyone by returning to the field last season after a horrific leg injury, which most people would have walked away from. I would have been done. I never would have stepped foot again on a football field. I broke my ankle playing football, and I did this as an adult. This was a couple years ago, and I will never play football ever again. It was just a regular ankle break. It wasn't no catastrophic injury with me. I wasn't along the lines of Alex Smith, nowhere in that realm. But breaking my ankle was enough for me to say, you know what? I'm in my 30s now, and this just isn't it. All right, so the 36-year-old Alex Smith made it clear that he is happy and he is now able to leave the game his own way and not on a stretcher. And I kind of figured that was one of the reasons that he wanted to come back. No player wants to have his career end the way a lot of people thought Alex Smith's career was going to end. So I understand why he did come back. Now, Alex Smith was the first overall pick in the 2005 NFL Draft, played from 2005 to 2012 in San Francisco, and then from 2013 to 2017 in Kansas City, and then from 2018 to 2020 in Washington. Now, going over, his career stats and all that, it seems like he figured things out at the age of 27 in his second to last season in San Francisco. Now, if you remember, Alex Smith was kind of a wild card. I know he had some success in Utah coming out. I believe he played under Urban Meyer. I believe he did. But for some reason, things just weren't transitioning the right way in San Francisco. But at 27, like I said, his second to last season in San Francisco, that was the first time he threw over 3,000 yards in a season in his career. 17 touchdown passes to 5 interceptions. The Niners were 13-3 that year, and he had a winning record every year of his career after that season. Now, what I went on to find out was, I had to dig for this because I'm not a Niners fan. I don't watch 49ers football for real. Even in their heyday, I couldn't stand the 49ers. My Falcons were back in the NFC West back in the day. For those of you that don't remember, it wasn't always the NFC South. When I was coming up, it was the NFC West. It was the Falcons, Niners, Rams, and Panthers. Those were the teams. And we got destroyed by the Niners every season, except for the 98 Super Bowl year. We beat the Niners twice that year. We lost them in San Francisco, won twice in Atlanta. One of the wins was a playoff win. Loved it. Loved it when we beat Steve Young. But yeah, growing up, I couldn't stand the Niners. I didn't watch Niner games. Niners and Cowboys, I didn't watch those games. And it worked out for me because I'm on the East Coast. So the Niners playing on the West Coast, I didn't watch those 4 o'clock games. I always turned to some other team playing. Could not stand the San Francisco 49ers. So, yeah. So this is why I had to look this up, who he played under during his career at San Francisco. And I see that he played under Mike Nolan, who was one of the worst head coaches of all time. Let's put it there. I know enough about Mike Nolan when he coached here in Atlanta as a coordinator. And Mike Singletary had a cup of coffee in San Francisco. I do remember when he coached the Niners, for that brief stint, and it was brief. And so Alex Smith played under 2 horrible head coaches his first 4 seasons. And not only that, he played under 4 different offensive coordinators. And this is the part where it sucks to be an NFL player. And I get it being a fan, and I understand what's going on. When you're playing musical chairs with quarterbacks, well, not quarterbacks, but head coaches and coordinators, and guys are bringing in different game plans, it's hard to get some type of continuity amongst your players. You're switching out game plans every year. A guy doesn't get to go through it 1 year, get it under his belt, and then get to master the second season. You saw that in Atlanta. Well, I did, but anyways, when Shanahan was here. Shanahan's first year here as an offensive coordinator was horrible. Guys were calling for his job. Him and Roddy White couldn't get on the same page. And the next season, what happens? We have one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL, and Matt Ryan goes on to win the MVP. But I say that to say this. It seems that once Alex Smith started to get some regularity when it comes to coaches, he started to take off, and he started to finally grow as a quarterback. But Jim Harbaugh is really the guy that Alex Smith learned from, and that's even though he was benched in favor of Colin Kaepernick. And that's what I was just saying in the draft. Remember, Colin Kaepernick was a guy who was mobile. The guy could run. He could take off. If it wasn't there, he could make it happen with his feet, which is one of the reasons why I wanted Justin Fields as opposed to the tight end that we picked out of Florida. I wanted to groom a quarterback to take over when we finally part ways with Matt Ryan, because it's time to blow the whole thing up here in Atlanta. So let's go ahead and get the quarterback. But the same thing with the Niners. They went with Colin Kaepernick, even though Alex Smith has started to figure things out under Jim Harbaugh. They ended up eventually trading him to Kansas City. And Patrick Mahomes credits Alex Smith with helping him become a successful quarterback in Kansas City. So how are we going to remember Alex Smith's career? How was his career? Look, at the end of the day, he was a serviceable quarterback and one that became a wise vet as time went on. Nothing special, nothing that really stands out. Hall of Fame, no. You might not remember him 20 years from now, unless you're a football fan. I do think that he could have went on and led a Super Bowl team. I'll be honest with you. I think he could have led that Kansas City team to a Super Bowl. Alex Smith was just that good of a quarterback as he went on late in his career. He got benched in Kansas City. They eventually sent him to Washington. And look, he's no Hall of Famer, but he's in the Hall of Very Good. So that's my take on Alex Smith. Kudos to Alex Smith. Give Alex Smith a round of applause. And you just heard the whistle. So I'm going to get out of this topic. And look, let me know what you think about Alex Smith's career. Let me know down in the comment box below. Talk to me, chat with me. Let's get some dialogue going. All right. So like I said, you heard the whistle. Let's move on. This day in sports history, April 30th, 1961, San Francisco Giants outfielder Willie Mays becomes just the 9th player in Major League Baseball history to hit 4 home runs in one game in the Giants' 14-4 win against the Braves in Milwaukee. Now, that's one of those things I love seeing. I don't know about you, but I've looked up the 4 home run games before on YouTube, and the one that always catches my eye is Mark Whitten with the Cardinals, and he is just destroying Riverfront Stadium. It's where the Reds play. They were playing the Cincinnati Reds. And, I mean, the guy was on. He was locked in. Mike Cameron did it. And same thing. He almost hit 5 home runs. He had a deep fly out. I think it's his last at bat. But I think it was crazy because the game Mike Cameron was in when the Mariners beat the White Sox, he hit 4 home runs. 2 of those home runs came in 1 inning, I believe. But I believe he had a teammate that also hit 2 home runs in that same inning. It was a wild game. Look it up on YouTube if you get a chance. Just look it up. Mike Cameron's 4 home run game. And I love baseball fans because even though the Mariners were the away team, same thing with St. Louis with Mark Whitten, both those guys were the away team. And the home crowd stands and applauds. So I thought that's great. That's one of the things I do love about baseball fans. They understand history. They understand when they're watching something special happen. So I'm one who loves to go watch the 4 home run games. I believe Carlos Delgado had one in Toronto. I'm pretty sure, if you look it up on YouTube, I'm pretty sure he had a 4 home run game himself because his final at bat, he knows the ball is gone. He just does a simple bat flip, and that's one of those moments where when you're just on, you're allowed to do a bat flip. Just get that bat out of here and let's move on to the next game. All right. Hey, look, that's all I got for you today, folks. I thank you for including my podcast into your day. If you're listening on Spotify, follow the podcast. If you're on YouTube, over there on that side of things, subscribe, comment, like, all that good stuff. Go to any of the social media links that you see in the description box to get in contact with the show for comments or suggestions. You've been listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis. Remember, it's your world. I'm just giving my opinion. I'm out. Peace.
You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis.